Hello and welcome to this week's For the Love of Retro. Now we have two new amazing games in our new retro software reviews. Biofury for 3DO, a rare FPS for a rare console. Revenge of Trasnoz for the Amstrad CPC series of computers, an amazing arcade platform. In the DOS Vault, we revisit a classic FPS, Terminator Future Shock, and we review an amazing strategy game, Cadre. Now, in our hardware section, we review the Gameboy Pro Plus cartridge, another one of those clone cartridges from Asian markets, and see if it stands up to the original. Finally, in our history section, we have the tragic story of the amazing CD32 and how its failure to sell brought down the Colossus Commodore that used to rule the market. So stay with us as we delve into the history of retro gaming in another episode for the love of retro. Come on, let's begin. Welcome to this week's New Old Games reviews, and we begin with Biofury, a homebrew game for 3DO. We don't get a lot of those. It's a game by Zysix Games, and it's a clone of sorts of the Wolfenstein 3D, the famous early FPS. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that the graphics and the speed of the game is very good, even though the variety is not that big. The special effects and all the rest are also quite good, but the problem that this game has is, of course, in the controls. But that is not a problem of the game. That is a common problem in all the 3DO games because of the stiff and, let's say, not adjusted for that kind of games controller. Other than that, the game is fast, action-packed. The graphics are very good. Contrary to most FPSs of that era, of course, this one is a new game. It's very fast and in full screen. I don't have to remind you the debacle with the Doom conversions and how terrible they were in many platforms of those days. The 3DO can handle such things easily, of course. Oh, God. And the game is tougher than it should be because, mostly, of the controls. Of course, when you get used to it, or you adjust the controls a bit, you will get better. I will recommend the game, even though it has all these problems, if for nothing else, because, well, we don't get a lot of homebrew games for the 3DO, and this is a solid effort. So I do believe you want to see it, if nothing else, for the importance of it. And let's move on to our next game for the Amstrad CPC. And this is Revenge of Trasnoz. Now, Trasmoz is, well, the curse of Trasmoz has been broken, as the story says on its website, but the evil Mutamin is still plotting his revenge. Now, this is an arcade platform game that will remind you of many other games. It's for the Amstrad CPC, it has a very unique concept, even though it's quite simple. You have to destroy these zombies, as you can see, and other enemies, in order to collect flames. Now, when you collect enough flames, you pass through these candles that you see, and you touch them by lighting them. If you manage to light all these magic candles, you go on to the next stage. Now, if you saw here, that was the evil mutamine, and if you take too long in one stage and the time meter right at the bottom of the screen ends up, then the evil mutamine appears and starts hunting you down. If it touches you, you're done for, like now. The graphics are very good, the animation is very good, the sound, the music, the controls. It's a very, very good game. It's obvious that a lot of effort has been put to it. It's a game by Volcano Bytes. It's really worth your time. There is a physical edition too, if you want to order it in cassette and disc forms. The game is really addictive. It is kinda hard, mostly because time runs out pretty quick. Again, there is excellent collision detection and precise controls. You just have to be really careful. There are a lot of traps, a lot of enemies. I do like the color palette a lot. It's cartoonish and atmospheric at the same time. There are bonuses like that treasure to collect. This is definitely one of the better games for the Amstrad CPC. It'll be your loss if you don't at least give it a shot, because it's really, really worth it. It's a wonderful game. Oh, finally completed. Go get it. Now, this week we have something completely unusual. Continuing on with the Asian market clones of cartridges, this week we have for the Game Boy Color the Gameboy Pro Plus cartridge. It's a very well made cartridge that resembles the cartridges of the console, the game cartridges. You can see the SD card up here. It also has a switch, reset switch up here. Now, its use is very, very simple. You just plug it in, you turn it on, and it boots up to the list. Let's go have a closer look of how it works. You'll have to excuse the weird filming in this episode for the hardware review, but I unfortunately have no means to do filming by connecting the Game Boy Color in a TV, none that I know of. So let's go. Now, you can see the list of games here. We choose the one we want, let's say Cannon Fodder. Push the B button, and the long process, really long process, of erasing and reflashing the memory begins. Now it takes quite a while. I skipped some time, imagine that. Give or take around a minute and 5 seconds, which I think is the biggest disadvantage. And once enough time passes and the flashing is complete, the game will boot up. There we go. There are no problems after it begins, but that was a long time. Not much else to it. Let's go sum it up. So there you have it. It is a cheap cartridge. It does what it's supposed to do, but you must take into account that method that these Asian cartridges have. The flash process, as you can see, the erase and flash process takes more than a little while. It's a bit over a minute for every game. If you can handle that and it doesn't concern you, then I would recommend the cartridge, if nothing else for its price. It's very well built, I can't lie about that. And as it says, it has low power consumption. It's true, I've played quite along with it. I didn't see any difference in the power consumption of the console. But do keep in mind that it's pretty slow and it's flashing. And of course, it has none of the functions of other original cartridges for the Game Boy Color. If you want a cheap choice, just to play a few games in your free time on your Game Boy, then I recommend it. If you want something more special, something more functional, you should go for one of the original ones. And with that, let's move on. Hello and welcome to this week's DOS Vault. We have the Terminator Future Shock to review this time, a 1995 game, and I believe one of the last FPSs for the MS-DOS. It's a game by Bethesda Softworks, and it's using the XN engine, the engine that was used for Daggerfall. Now, it's a first-person shooter with early 3D graphics. It does not have a multiplayer mode, something that was a bit unusual back in those days. Now, this is our mission. We escape the compound. Of course, the story is based on the famous Terminator franchise, and it has most of the characteristics you would expect from an FPS of those days, along with a few special characteristics. For starters, I would like to say that the graphics are very good considering the age of the game. Back in those days, you didn't get to see that much Super VGA graphics and fully textured polygons. Now, the game has the classic controls. You can control the game with mouse, joystick, or keyboard, or the combination of mouse and keyboard, which is what I suggest you do. There is a 360 movement control of the camera, also unusual for those days. It is a very good game. It's, I think it's about a level or two from the competition, above of the competition, and I believe it has been overlooked a bit back in the day. I also like the feature that you can enter pretty much any building, like here, any building you want to find ammunition or rooms containing new weapons, or sometimes an ambush by enemies. There is a variety of enemies. Most of them are not seen in any of the movies, of course, since most of the movies are they happen in the past or are present most of the time, and the story of the game is mostly in the future. So it was expected that new enemies were to be created for the needs of the game. Now the music and the sound effects are very good. The variety of weapons is good enough, I would say. They do have a good impact on them. You don't feel them phony, you don't feel them weak. Also, the enemies are good. You don't feel like they're, bullet sponges. All in all, I would say that this was one of the criminally overlooked FPSs back in the day, and a very good addition to the Terminator franchise. That after this game, well, it took a little while to see a really, really good game. I would suggest you try it if you haven't played it back in the day, or revisit it if you had. And let's move on to our new DOS game of the week. Now, this is Cadre Combat Class by Stan. It's a strategy game. Of course, it's a tribute to the early strategy games that we saw on the ZX Spectrum. It's a game that has a bit of not awkward controls, but unique. It does take some time to get used to it. Now, the basic premise is the one you meet in those squad-based, turn-based strategy games like XCOM. The graphics are modeled in CGA style, along with a palette. For some reason, that makes it look really interesting. I don't know, it does remind me of early 70s sci-fi movies and TV series. I don't know. The graphics are well made. Of course, they are very little. There's very little animation for the graphics in order to follow CGA spirit. That doesn't stop the game from being extremely fun. It is a hard game, I must confess that. It is a hard game, and you have to measure and calculate your every move. There is an inventory system, there is an interaction with hostages in this case. Each and every unit has different abilities, like the medic, the scout. Some are heavily armed, some carry medikits. It's a concept that most of you, or at least those of you who love strategy games, will be familiar with. I do recommend the game. Get to know the controls first. It'll make your life easier. There are some keyboard shortcuts to help you as well. And there are many missions, and you can opt to be dealt random missions, not follow a certain series, and random units. It's an excellent effort, and it sends us back to the day that gameplay was everything. Definitely recommend it. Try it out, and you won't regret it. Let's move on to our next section. Hello and welcome to this week's history lesson. Today we're going to talk about the ill-fated CD32 by Commodore. Now the CD32 was a very important console for Commodore, not only because it was the first correct foray of the company to the CD media, but because it was the machine that was meant to save Commodore from certain doom. Now the machine was about to come into circulation in 1993 to 1994 approximately. It was a powerful machine for its day, packed with a 68EC020 processor at 14 MHz. It also came with 2 megabytes of RAM, and it had various outputs, an RF modulator, composite video, super video. It also came with a new chipset called Akiko, which had some special functions. Now the machine was significantly more powerful than its competition at the time, like the Mega CD. Commodore had tried to enter the market with a CD TV a few years back, but it didn't turn out well. The CD TV was viewed more like a multimedia platform, and the fact that it had an extremely high price at the market prevented it from becoming a success. And that was just 2 years earlier. Also, it didn't help that the market was still not ready, and the $1,000 price tag hurt it a lot too. The CD32 rectified all these problems, but there was something else in the horizon. There was a deadline for Commodore to pay $10 million for patent royalty to a company. Now, that company, Cadre, took Commodore to the court. Unfortunately, the federal judge ordered an injunction against Commodore, and that injunction prevented it from importing anything into the United States. And even though the Commodore CD32 was a runaway success in the first weeks of its circulation in Europe, selling more than 100,000 pieces, back in those days, if you didn't make it in the US market, you didn't make it at all. Without being able to import anything, most of the stock for the United States was sitting in a storage in Philippines. Commodore, unable to pay the debt, declared bankruptcy shortly afterwards, and the CD32 was never ever officially sold in the United States. Unfortunately, this wonderful console fell and took Commodore along with it, even though there were many efforts from the Commodore UK to save the company and even buy it out. But that is a story for another time. Join us next week for another, I hope, more cheerful history lesson. See you next time with another exciting episode. Bye.